Today, I'm joined by an incredible artist, Nick Rose. Welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Squires.
Nick,
I am so honored to
Let's
be here,
go,
honestly.
dude. I appreciate you taking the drive, dude. Where are you coming from right now?
I'm coming from Plainville, Connecticut.
Yeah, for those listening, it's a little trip away. It's like an hour and change away.
Yeah. Same state, though. So we're still
we're
here.
still in the same state, so it's not that bad. But how would you describe yourself for someone who's never heard of you?
For someone who's never heard of me, I generally just kind of tell people I'm an artist now. I'm trying to move away from being, I guess, static or too like fixed in a label. I started out in hip hop, like I was just straight up a rapper, like at 13 years old. And now I've kind of made more pop records, kind of been more versatile. So now I just kind of tell people I'm a songwriter, but it encapsulates everything.
Does it bother you if people still like call you a rapper or like?
No, I don't want to run away from hip hop, and I think that's also a big point of that. Like, I came in as a rapper, and I'm always going to be a rapper. Like, I'm always going to be a lyricist, someone who loves to write, someone who's trying to give that perspective. I also feel like there's just so much more to art that I can be a rapper, I can also be a singer, I can also be an instrumentalist, I could do all of it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. Well, I'm going to talk to you about something in rap that you did because you opened up for Bazaar of D12, right?
I did open up for Bazaar of D12.
How did that come to be, dude?
That was fire. I definitely think Mud, shout out Mud, my manager Mud also manages Chill Shump. He was big influential in kind of helping put that together. I can't remember off the top of my head who the promoter is, which is the worst thing in the world to think of right now, but I haven't talked to them in forever because this was, almost 3 years ago. But they literally was just like, yeah, come open up, do like a 15-minute set. And then I got to the State House in New Haven and they were like, yeah, Bazaar heard your music. You want to go downstairs and say hi to him? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then literally like right after I went on, I walked downstairs into like the little artist room. He came around the door. He's like, Nick Rose, I just watched your video. That was super cool. I was like, thank you, Bazaar. Was
that the Wandering video at the time?
Yeah, it was the Wandering video.
Amazing, dude. So when Bazaar, like, what did you guys talk about?
It was really quick, honestly. It was really just like, he said he watched the video, he liked it. He had heard from people in the venue that like, you're doing something over here. And I was like, I'm trying. I was like, I'm a big fan of you. I listen to MMLP. Like I listen to D12. Like this is insane. So it was, for me, that was kind of like my first, I don't want to say my first, it was like a really big starstruck moment. It was like, I grew up like many people listening to Eminem, listening to Shady, listening to all that. And then to have this dude who's like on a bunch of classic records I grew up and I own the CDs, like, your CD's good, like your music's good. I'm like, bro, there's nothing else that, like this full circle, there's nothing else I could.
Have you had a lot of like starstruck moments where you met somebody and you're like, oh, this is crazy?
Yes.
Can you name one?
Dominic Lennon of Brockhampton.
So how did that go? You know, tell me, give me a little story here, Nick.
I have been in, I guess, contact with him for years now because he has been obviously active in Connecticut. Don McGunn is from Hartford, from Bloomfield. So he's been super active in the scene well before he was in Brockhampton or doing anything on like a major level.
I remember seeing something of him and I believe Jitta way back in the day. They're like, baseball comes to mind. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like they shot a music video in like a baseball field.
I can remember a Jitta video on a baseball field.
Yeah.
I can't remember that. This had to be like pre-2014, something like that.
But yeah, no, to your point, he's been in the game for a hot second.
Yeah. He's been in the game for a hot second, and I've always looked up to him outside of just being in the group. Like his solo work is amazing. And yeah, I know he works with a lot of different artists and producers still in Connecticut. He's very homegrown, tapped in. And I had done my Nick Rose and Friends show. Shout out Mike Squires and Friends. I did a show about 2 years ago in the summer, and I had a bunch of people come out to New Britain. And then later that night, I went out to a show in Hartford at Smila Cafe where a bunch of people were jamming, and a bunch of people I know were, jamming, having an open mic. And he popped out there and walked in the room, and like we locked eyes, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, this guy actually knows me, remembers me. Like that's a real thing. I love humans. And then he met me inside, took me outside, and he was just like giving me the most inspirational talk of my life. He's like, you're doing everything you need to do. Keep making your music. Stay independent. You don't need to do any of this bullshit or anything else. Like, just focus on you and what you're doing and keep the art true. And like, that is wrong with me ever since.
Dude, conversations like that are so important, dude. Like, I have a story like that with a different artist that basically had that talk, and you probably felt like it's just like a battery in your back to keep going.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell real fast, but I had the exact same experience with Mike Posner, dude. Mike Posner, like when I was like
one of my biggest inspirations,
bro. So fire, dude. And
you did the Cooler Than Me record.
I did, dude. I did that remix. I hope he hears it and likes it, and he's not like lawsuit. Shout out Moonlander too, who's on that song. And but yeah, no, he used to like way back. It wasn't even Zoom; it was Skype. He used to like Skype with fans, and he Skyped one of my friends. And my friend was like, this is Mike, and he wants to be a video guy. He wants to be a producer. And then like 15-year-old me is like, hey, Mike Posner. And he's like, yo, follow your dreams no matter what. And I did, so.
Shout out Mike Posner.
Shout out Mike Posner.
Mike Squires is here.
Yeah, dude.
Let's go.
But Nick, I want to bring it back. And you know what? I think this podcast is happening at a great time. Because we talked back and forth about doing a podcast before. But I was like, I need to see the thing.
The timing's got to be right.
The timing's got to be right.
I got to have a thing.
Yeah, but I was looking because I saw it on the horizon. Like to me, the Wandering video was like a little warm up for then now the Who's That video. And when I saw the Who's That video, I was like, there he is. There's my boy Nick, the superstar that I know that he is, dude. So let's talk about that record, how it came to be, the insane music video. We could talk about Cat Burgundy if we feel like it, I guess.
Absolutely. I will have to mention him at least once. Shout out Cat Burgundy, my man.
Yeah, so how did the song come together?
Who's That was a solo record for me 2.5 years ago. It was on a mixtape, Very Cool, Volume 2 that I dropped. So the record was made 2 years ago, and it wasn't a single. It wasn't anything that I really had a plan for. It was just kind of like a mixtape cut. Here's me rapping. That's it. I met Annoyed for the first time at his studio, Brightside Studio over in Meriden, where he was recording some stuff. And I met him with Kat that same day, and I played them a bunch of different records, just kind of getting them to know me. And back to back, I played them Wandering and Who's That. Wandering, Kat was like, we're going to make that into a video. Who's That played, Annoyed's like, holy shit, run that back. And then he's like, no, I'm going to put a verse on this. And I was like, this is not the song I wanted you to put a verse on. Like, it never works out the way you think it's going to work. So he was like, yeah, send me an open with that. And the record was done like well over 2 years ago. I had that Annoyed verse ready to go. And it was literally just me and Kat kind of planning and timing out, how are we going to make this video? How is it going to be the biggest thing that we can possibly make it for what an independent artist budget is? And how can we maximize this? And it took 6 months like total to make the video, but now we're here.
Yeah, it looks like there was a lot of effort put in. And let's talk about the process, because that's probably the most intense video you've done today.
That is the most intense production I've ever been a part of.
So let's talk about it. What was like the first step, and when are you starting to shoot? Like, how's everything looking as it's coming together?
So 2 years ago we had the record, and Annoyed was like, I would love for this to come out and this will be great. obviously with me and just having the whole vision in mind, I want to capitalize on this moment. Annoyed is one of my biggest inspirations, biggest walkie-talkie from Connecticut. I want to make this a moment for Connecticut and just for us, period, if we're going to do this. So going into last summer, we had a couple meetings with Annoyed, Cat, other people, other managers who were a part of it and producing it and helping it. And we were just kind of, Cat had a really good storyboard, like a good treatment for what the video was going to be. Cat laid out the aesthetics of everything you see in the video, whether it's me being dragged by the car or being in the auto shop or like the mosh pit scene. Like all of that was Cat's mind, and slight tweaks were made throughout the process, but a lot of the video was basically Cat almost had it shot for shot figured out with a treatment. And he was like, we're going to attack this one by one and I'm going to piece this all together. And it took several months to just piece together several shots, which was honestly the hardest thing I've probably had to do, like from like just a producer kind of managing standpoint, but it was so rewarding.
What was the hardest shot to do during the video?
The hardest shot to do is I would say the hardest shot to do is it's probably the car one. Just because we had a little trouble with the police when we shot it.
Now you gotta tell the story, dude.
Yeah. So we shot everything with the auto body and the mosh pit scene in like the open warehouse space. We shot all that in one day in like a span of like 8 to 10 hours. So that was like the bulk of the video. A couple weeks later, we were like, we have to get this stunt down where it looks like a dummy is being dragged by a car. And then we had to engineer basically me roping my legs to the back of Cat, pulling me on a skateboard with the car adjacent so that we could have like the shot capturing that. First, we did burnouts with the car we were doing in a residential parking lot, which got the cops called on us. The cops also got called with that call that they saw me getting tied up to the back of the car, so they thought that I was being kidnapped or extorted or something like that. Luckily, Cat knew the police officer, and it was a beautiful moment, and we got away perfectly fine. And right after the police left, we sped down a residential street dragging a dummy looking like a dead person off the back of a car.
Bro.
And we got some crazy looks and some people being like, you should not be doing that. And
I miss getting the police called on me for video shoots, dude. It's been a long time, dude, but I've had a couple experiences. I got in trouble in Canada, dude. I was shooting a music video up there, and we were doing like, shout out my homie Ollie, and we're shooting a music video up there, and he's like sitting in the back of the car as we're driving through his hometown. All of a sudden, like, police right behind us, you know, she's giving us all tickets for reckless endangerment, dude. I'm like, dang, yeah. So it's kind of a fun story though, too, because, and I don't know if this is exactly how it happened, but this is how I saw it in my eyes. So like, we got these tickets. They were like a couple $100 Canadian. I don't know what that is US, like 20 bucks, dude.
I was gonna say a little less.
No, I don't know. It was, I'm not trying to, no. As I'm wearing the American flag suit, that's
like,
crazy.
This is the 50 states, man.
Yeah. Let me not talk smack about Canadian currency. But then Ollie and I were like, yo, you know what? We'll do a record and we'll just make the money back like that. And we did. Right. So, you know, I guess a good thing came out. Yeah. But to bring it back to Who's That? Like, so what's the feeling? You get the video done, you see the final cut. What's the feeling of that?
Holy shit, we made a movie. That was like my number one thing to Cat. I was like, this is as close to I've ever gotten to like a cinematic experience as someone who like loved movies and wanted to be like a movie director before I even made music, like back in elementary school, middle school. I was like, Cat, you are a genius. I don't know how you did things with the camera that you did. I don't know how you comped half these shots, but like it was crazy. And
how long are you sitting on the video before you put it out?
We were done with it by the end of November, beginning of December. We were still making tweaks. Cat was making tweaks pretty much up until the week that it dropped, but it was done for at least a month, and then we just had to plan out what we were going to post and how we were going to roll it out with everything else. And
I feel like you made a wave when you did, dude, because like as a video director for years, dude, I looked at that video and I said, holy shit. Yeah, I mean, you had me inspired a ton, dude, because, you know, I came up as a music video director.
Right.
And for the last, who knows, 4 years, everyone's like, don't do music videos, do short form content, focus on short form content. Music videos are dead.
That's what we were doing the year before.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing.
But when you dropped that video for me, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, you know, it's like, this is great to see. And I'm calling up Cat. The second I saw that video, I called up Cat. I was like, all right, Cat, when are we
when are we locking in?
Yeah, because You're giving Nick all the sauce. I need a little sauce over here. Bring something to me over here. Let's like figure it out. So if you see a cat in Squire's video, it was inspired because you guys worked.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So man. I'm really excited, but let's talk about the coolest just in general, dude. You know, the EP is out now.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I got my copy. Let's not like just talk about it.
I did hand press a copy this morning.
Let's go, dude.
Yes. If you open it up, it has your name on it too.
Oh, come on,
for
dude.
every CD, I'm writing the name on it, and when I pressed it, just to everyone can have that. It's like a little memento.
Dang, this is fire. Dang, 6 out of 10. You know 6 is my lucky number?
6 your lucky number?
Yeah, this is 6 out of 10. Let's go, dude.
Let's go.
That's fucking sick. But yeah, I'll give the camera a little show. I probably should just look like a little pop up or something on screen, dude. But no, that's tight, dude. But you know, what was the process of getting this album done for you?
This EP was honestly me just kind of being conciliatory to my fans and anyone who's been patient with me not dropping music. This was just kind of like I'm sorry, here's something to end 2024 with and look forward. Because I only dropped 2 singles all of 2024 before Who's That in the EP, like last month of the year. So it was a very quiet year for me. It was like the quietest year I've ever had in terms of like actively trying to be an artist. Like since I was 13, I've put out a mixtape or more every single year. So for this year to be like, I'm not putting out much. And honestly, I wasn't making as much as I usually do because adult life and work and everything, I was finishing school and graduating. So like there was just a lot of things in my peripheral that were taking me away from the music. But I've always had, you know, I have songs sitting on the drive that people tell me to drop, they want to hear. So it was kind of just like, all right, let me remember why we're doing this. I can get my head back on straight to make more music anytime I want, but let me just strap down and give people something to listen to because I've been out. Like I've not as been as active as I wanted to be, and going forward, I just want to be present.
Do you feel the pressure when you're not active?
Yes, all the time, all the time. I'm probably the most self-critical about that on myself, despite other people chirping or feeling like they think it's more of a priority for them to tell me. Like I feel the most pressure of anyone to like drop something before I die. I hate to say it like that, but like I only have one life to live, and this is my time to deliver art for people to remember well after I'm gone. So yeah, I definitely take that seriously.
And I think it's easy to get caught up in the process of not releasing sometimes too, where it's like you start overthinking it and it's like, I've been gone for so long, so now I got to come back. It's like almost the longer you wait, it feels like the thing you have to drop has to be.
Oh yeah. You know, it just feels like the pressure mounts. Like every day you wait, the song has to be 1% better. Or as soon as you've waited a couple weeks and then there's another #1 song that like everyone's attached to, you're like, oh, not only do I have to do better than myself, but I have to make something that's bigger than that, or something that feels more epic to people than what they're already consuming. And I don't want to get caught up in that anymore. I've definitely been caught up in that, but getting out of my own way to just drop music for people was, I think, the first step to that. Just putting myself back out there.
I always say breaking the cycle. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean?
Cycle.
With anything, it kind of really applies to anything, but it's like, you know, if you're at the gym and you fall off, it's like, okay, just get back in there. You know what I mean? You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to crush it on the first day, but just get back in. It's like, oh, you haven't been dropping music. Get back at the studio. Just make something.
Do it.
Yeah. Don't even think about putting it out. Just make the thing. You know what I mean? And then just, because you'll know when it's like, oh, this is
something that is ready to go. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just experimentation and like really getting back in there and just kind of messing with things, because showing up is half the battle. I always say that. You know what I mean? You just got to go. It's like no matter what you're trying to do, just go and get in there and just see what you come up with. Yeah. What's your process in the studio, dude?
It's very, I think it's hard to pin down, because when I make music, it can start in a variety of different ways. Like some songs I write a hook and then I'm like, this is the song and I'm just gonna build around this. Some of my songs, like Afraid, for example, a song that I play all the time at shows, that was a song that started as a cool beat that I was making on my ex-girlfriend's couch. And then it just turned into a record that I love to play outside every time I go. So for me, a song doesn't necessarily have to like start in a specific way. I try not to, I guess, nail down my process to like a process. I try to take inspiration all the time, and then whatever is the most prescient or the most potent or the most making me want to do something, that is what I usually act upon. Yeah.
You feel like it's a lot of like what you move is off of feeling and just...
Oh yeah.
I think you have to.
90% of the process is me thinking and pacing around and not doing something before I actually do it, I feel like. Or just living, I should say. 90% of my process is just trying to live life and not think about the fact that I need to turn this into a song before I eventually do.
So when you turn it into a song and you have like what you consider the final, like what's the thing, like how are you feeling before you release a song typically? Like what's your process to like...
Right before I release a song, I'm usually like very in love with it. Like I've probably been sitting with the master myself for like a couple days or weeks or whatever, and I'm like really excited that this is what it is. And then usually like within the day or the week that I put it out, I'm like, I don't need to hear this ever again.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, do you listen to your own music?
I do.
Me too, dude. And you know, there's a Drake quote, and like, listen, a tough time for these Drake fans out here, you know, but he has a quote where he's like, why wouldn't I make music that I like to like listen to?
100%.
And I'm like, facts. This might sound weird, but like I hop in the shower in the morning, I'm throwing on the Mike Squires and I'm like, okay, this is great, dude. You know what I mean? I'm really happy with these songs. Has there ever been a song that you made that like you knew that you had to release and get it out there and maybe you weren't happy with it, but then once you lived with it for a little bit, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good?
Yeah, I have had songs that have kind of grown on me. Yeah, I think there's this song called Gorgeous off of my album Ceiling Theory. It was a replacement song, and I can get into this story too. Because
I want to hear this, yeah.
The song that I wanted to put on that album, which is a single that's still out, it's called Afterglow. Afterglow, I was shopping to be on an NBC show, so I took it off, and then I eventually put it back out because I did not make it onto this NBC show. But in time for the album to come out a couple months later, I couldn't have this song be out on streaming platforms or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to make a substitute song to kind of fill in the vibe of what this would be for the album. So to me, the song Gorgeous of mine is not as good of a song as the original song I was trying to live up to, but I definitely appreciate it more now because I could see like me just trying to creatively problem solve through something that I was going through at the time. Like, it doesn't have to be the best song ever. I think I was singing okay. I think the beat's okay. It's not my favorite song ever, but I do see the value in what I was trying to do for myself outside of just liking the song.
Yeah. What are some opportunities that, because you just brought up the NBC thing, like what are some like cool opportunities that you've been able to have in music?
I would say that's a really good question. What do you mean by opportunities?
Like, you know, something that like came from your music career. It's like whether it was a song you released and like it got received well to the point where it's like you were able to do a show. Maybe there was like a sync placement. Maybe there was like just anything outside of the box that you're like, whoa, I can't believe I'm here because of music.
That's a good, I'd say the closest thing that I have to that was probably a couple years back. This is back in like 2018, 19. Now I think. I was working with an artist who is still active. Shout out Chase Freeman from the 203. Chase was working on an album and he was, for some reason, I can't remember exactly, he was adjacent or working with the company that was run by Che Pope. Che Pope is the former president of Good Music. He executive produced like Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, like worked on Yeezus, like a bunch of albums. Like small albums. Yeah. He was one of Kanye's dudes basically for like a long time, but he's like a great producer, you know, the Teddy Riley lineage, like all of that in his own right. And I remember Chase linked up with Che, and Che was trying to help him do some distribution, and Chase had this song that I was producing with, and basically Che helped us pick it up and get it distributed to like his own distribution company, like kind of deal. So to say that like I'm on the books with another artist and a collaboration basically facilitated me to be like, how do I say this, 1 degree separated from like Good Music and Kanye, or like just to be in the essence, like to be in the presence and working with someone who is that historied in music, and like I got to learn a lot from in a short amount of time. I think that was one of the... It's
funny that you bring up degrees of separation too, because I look at things a lot like that too, where it's like, dang, I am very close to a lot of my idols, dude. Right. Like I'm literally...
You're 1 or 2 people away from whoever it is you want. Like in music, it's much of a smaller world than people like to make it out to be.
I had an uncle, he passed away, but he's like, when I was young, he always had this quote, and it's always like, shake the hand that shook the hand of Abraham Lincoln. And it's like, to me, that's like, it's kind of like goes to like degrees of separation, where it's like, you know, you are a lot closer to your dreams, your goals, and everything that you're trying to go for than you think, dude. It really is like, you know what I mean? And I've been in some incredible rooms because of it, you know what I mean? But it's like, the point I'm just trying to make and put this out there for people is like, just get started because you never know what's going to happen, and like really spend your time outside because you never know who you're going to meet. For all you know, dude, you did that thing and Kanye just popped up and he's just checking. Like, you just never know, dude. And that's why you just got to like stay outside, dude.
Exactly.
Because it's like...
You never know who other people know. And like, that is the beauty of it. Like, it is a small world. There are 7 billion, 8 billion something people, but it is a small world, especially if you work in an industry that is so niche and specific to just what people are doing. Like, musicians are going to flock to musicians. Creatives are going to flock to creatives. Like, it's only a couple handshakes away most of the time.
Yeah, and I've had like a couple moments too. Like, you got me like thinking of like some moments where I was like, holy shit, in my life, dude. Like, shout out, you know Ray, Maserati Ray?
Oh, yeah.
So Ray and Rook lined me up to film Cardi B's album release party, which already is insane, dude. You know? And
I think my bowels are moving. Oh my God.
And like, being the camera guy, you're the closest to these people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they want you to be able to get your shot.
You're responsible for capturing their skin as close as you
I'm
can
like
get
in
to
this
them.
like little corner section with Cardi B, her sister, whose name I forget, and then me and Leor Cohen, dude. It's just like, this is like, I'm like, I just remember thinking in this moment, I was like, but here's what, I had two thoughts. My initial thought was, I am so out of place in this moment right now. I was like, holy fuck.
And that's
like,
the danger of
so that's
like,
that was the first thought. And then my second thought was like, hell no, I'm not out of place, dude, because I wouldn't be here if I wasn't supposed to be here. So
exactly.
The point I'm trying to make is like getting outside and networking.
In fact,
How do you network? Like, what's your strategy? Like, how do you meet people and just connect with people like in music?
I'll take it back to basics like this. I try to be a nice person.
Number one rule,
I try to
dude.
be a good person. Like, I can't promise everybody that I'm going to be the best version of myself on any given day. I can't promise if I go to a show or a session or if I'm just meeting for the first time. Like, obviously, I might not be in the best place, period, wherever I'm at in life. But I do like to think that most of the time, regardless of me being a fan or wanting to work or whatever else, because I mostly remember other musicians and creatives, people for just who they are and like how generous or how open they are or just how willing they are to be a human with you versus like putting up a wall. I think that's like a very easy thing to do, especially in art, because people are still trying to retain some kind of mystery or like build themselves up to be something that they might not even be. So there's that wall. I just try to be open with people immediately. If I can help, I can help. I
think you nailed it right on the head because I think being a good my dad always says people work with you because they like you. Yes. You know what I mean? And I like truly believe that, where it's like, bro, I think I've said this on the podcast before, but the era of like the dickhead artist, like
it's over.
I think it's over, dude, because people aren't gravitating towards it too. And it's like, I think there are instances where people can see success, but not to the level where like, you know, they can go on a podcast and like talk like, dog, like no one's here for it. You know what I mean? Like everyone just wants like, I think there's a level of transparency. And I think going in a room, like you can feel the vibes. You could be like, like, you know, when someone's terrible, it is the worst. I've quit teams of artists because it's like, I don't even care about the numbers. I don't care about the money, dude. It's like,
you can feel people's intentions when you walk in the room.
Yeah.
And you know if you're going to be welcome, if you're just kind of there for a transactional reason or just kind of to be there.
And I know it sounds like such a simple thing, like be a nice person, but
it's that simple.
But the truth is though, you know, being an artist is also scary. So it's like sometimes you go into these situations and you put up a front because you like, you know what I mean? So I've seen it, but it's like, I think with time, you just like learn. And the music, okay, you said the world is small, dude. Music industry is even smaller, dude. Everyone knows everybody, dude. Like, trust me, like, and they are seeing, they're hearing
and
everything.
People are talking and people will tell other people, hey, this guy's great, or hey, this guy's an asshole. So like that shit travels quicker than you can get your own words out.
It's a reputation-based industry, dude. You know what I mean? Your reputation is everything. You should be holding that to the highest degree. Like, so, you know, think of your business place, think of everything, but just make sure you're not compromising your morals, your thing. Cause like at the end of the day, people are going to rock with you because you're you and you stand, and it's the only way you're going to be able to keep it up too.
100%.
Nick, how do you define success?
Not by numbers. I've been working through it because I guess I'm still like 24 and I still live in my parents' house. So for me, success is not like it's not like a moment or a destination or like a certain number of money or streams. Like I think a lot of people could use those as goals as I will to like move forward. But for me, I guess success is really just like, am I happy? Like, am I waking up every day and I'm continuing to do this because I'm choosing to do it because I love it? And if that's the case, I am successful. Like, I think that there's a lot of pressure placed on the idea of success or like metrics of success when there isn't really one universal one to follow. So I try to steer people away from like focusing on one thing to be like what defines you or like defines your journey. Like, I don't think one song or an album or something like blowing up compared to all the others, like, I don't think that will define me in time. Like, I think the totality of what I've done will most likely define me.
I think that's a great way to look at it. And my next question would be, what has been your biggest moment of success? And I guess that would be translate, what moment have you been the happiest in your career? You know?
I'd say the moment I was the most happy in my career so far has either been this past month of like rolling out The Coolest and the music video and just having all that out for Connecticut and our people to see and just the world. I would also say the happiest moment was maybe the Nick Rose and Friends show from 2 summers ago, because that was like my last headlining show that I organized myself. And that was like a really humbling moment to have, you know, a good amount of people come out to see me and rock out with these other artists that I love and are friends with. So it was just like a community full circle reminding me of what I do this for moment.
And I feel like you have a sense of accomplishment too with those moments where it's like, dude, there is nothing like dropping an album, dude. Like that feeling is like, we're here.
There's no high like dropping music and like finally being able to say, this is mine. Go listen to it. I hope you enjoy it. And then the reciprocation or the messages or the conversations that follow with that. I think that like every day that I get a message from someone being like, this song rocks, or I just listened to the EP, that makes my whole day if you're listening. Every time, I hope that's the same way for every other artist too, but like every single message means the world to me.
What's one of the coolest messages you've ever got?
I got one the other day. I think his name's Zhao. Shout out Zhao. Joe. He's been a fan of me for a while. I think he's from South America, but he DMs me on Instagram all the time, and he's like, bro, like, I don't know English as my first language, but I love your music and it helps me. And like, that's fucking awesome.
That's so
like,
sick,
that's crazy.
dude. How did you know how he found you?
No, I think he honestly either found me through just like a random Instagram post, or he might have found me on Spotify first before he like came over to social media, but he's been rocking with me for a minute. Shout out Joe.
It brings me to an interesting point too, where it's like sometimes your audience that you're trying to grow isn't necessary. Well, I'll tell you, your audience is not your hometown,
It's
dog.
not.
You know,
It's
some
not.
artist out there needs to hear this. Your audience is not your hometown.
I've had to learn that the hard way. I kind of feel like almost in a sense.
Bro, it's the opposite of what you think. It's everyone fucks with you everywhere else. You know what I mean? You get love like my number one song like went crazy in Germany. A language,
I remember you mentioning that at some point.
bro. And then it was like, oh shit, Mike, that's our guy. Connecticut,
Right.
that's our guy. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just funny. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't view it at that, but it's just the truth where it's like, I really think, you know, until other people say you're cool, then all your homies will be like,
Right.
yo, Nick, man, I've been rocking with Nick since like day one, dude. But obviously you have your support of your hometown
course.
too. Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's like
you really do have to believe in yourself, regardless of if your hometown rocks with you or not, before every other hometown starts saying, who is this guy?
Yeah. What, like, you know, what's been a moment in your career that you think was like game changing for you? Maybe like a struggle that you went through and like had to overcome.
I think, that's a really good question. I think one of those moments is probably 3.5 years ago. I failed out of school. And I was, at the time, I was not in the best mental health state. I was definitely, this was also post-COVID too. So like 2020, I was a sophomore in college at UConn, and they sent us home in the middle of the year in March to go home. So then it's 2021, I'm at home doing college online, not seeing anybody, basically failing through all my classes because I'm just making music and beats all day instead of doing what I'm actually supposed to be doing. And in that period of time, I decided that I was going to resolutely fail out of school and pursue music full time without like an actual plan for an income or a job or anything else. And I will say the past 2 years, kind of before this last year, it was like the biggest wake up call in my life of like, holy shit, like not only do you need a plan, but there's just like a different level of investment that you need to have in yourself outside of just like the wants. I wasn't taking care of a lot of the needs, I guess, of like my personal life, just taking care of myself on a general basis, having the necessary emotional conversations with friends or partners, people around me to like really keep me in check. So I definitely lost myself in the sauce of trying to grind just to be the music guy a couple years ago. And going back to school online and having a job and having to take time away from doing what I love has kind of just more so re-ingrained in me why I need to make the time to do this and why I need to continue to develop a better plan every day if I want to do this for the rest of my life. Like,
yeah. Was there like a turnkey moment like during this process? Like what was there something that happened that you're like, fuck, I got to turn this around? Or was it like gradual?
I mean, I've definitely the bank account's been lower than zero several times, so I can't even say like one of those times like woke me up. Because like I will definitely say financial whatever was not my forte at all before going back to school for business. But I think there were just a lot of moments over and over again. It was almost like my mom or my friends or whatever would just kind of say those subtle things of like, oh, like you're still trying to make it work, or, you know, you haven't gone back to school yet when you could, or, oh, maybe you should look at this different job that would take away way more time and whatever from music. And I think it was just like all of the doubts that surrounded me not having figured it out just really put the fire to my ass. It's like, I need to figure this out. I want to be a musician until I die. Like there can be no other way that I settle for something else to be my number one priority.
So what are some of the first things you did? You got a job.
I did get a job.
So you got a job. Where did you end up going?
I'm still at that job, actually. I'm a manager at a liquor store in Southington, Connecticut.
Very nice, dude. But it's important, like, because I think a lot of this is what you're saying is important because, you know, there are a lot of people that'll take the leap and they take it without a plan. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're telling me. And it's like, to me, that's like, that's scarier than everything. Cause it's like, you know, music isn't expensive. To make it in, like, you kind of have to have the headspace of not making money. Like,
right.
You gotta
be ready
money.
to kind of live in the slums until whatever works out.
There's a lot of dues. It's like a weird career path where it's like you have to pay a ton of dues before you can get to the point where it's
you
like
reap any benefit or ROI off of what you're doing.
Any other job you go to, you're getting paid immediately.
Right.
But
this job, it's invest. Maybe you see some ROI, maybe you get lucky, but you definitely have to keep investing. Like that's just the bottom line.
And the thing is, you just gotta kind of like get your nest egg, but keep a blind eye to it and just know that it's gonna work. And like, you know, I was going over some of my like stats because like I typically am somebody like, I know I do well for myself, but I just was like looking at it and I was just like, dog, I spent so much money to like get this off the ground. Like it's an
unfathomable amount of money.
Oh yeah. It was like, I like was read so deep before I even got like back to the even spot. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy. Like, and it is an investment and it's tough, dude. It's like, that's why I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people don't do music too, because it's like,
because the reality is if you really are invested in this shit, at some point you're going to be spending car money or rent money or an indubitable amount of money you can't fathom towards something that you might not ever see a return on. And that's the scary part. It's like for most normal traditional business people or venture capitalists, it's like, if there's no ROI here, why would you invest in this? But for musicians, it's just like, that's what it is. We love the art. I'm going to dump thousands, maybe millions of dollars before I die into whatever I do. I don't give a shit if I make it back.
Dude, so
it's there.
So coming out of this place, right? And, you know, turn your life around. What's like one of the first music things that you do after you feel like you're getting your life back together?
Ooh, one of the first things that I did in this time, to be real, was I did start an LLC. So I did turn Don't Trip, like my imprint, my friend group, my collective, like into my indie label that I could structure everything under, to have a bank account, to make sure I know what's going in and out permanently going forward, so that I will always have a record of how dumb I was or how well I'm doing. So that was, I think, the number one thing, was have a business structure in place. Obviously, I don't think everyone could do it or should do it themselves, because you might not have the resources to start an LLC, to maintain all the legal documentation you'll have to do year after year. But like, if you're willing to do that, it will be worth it in time. You know, that's the way I've seen it.
Because at the end of the day, like, the music is a business, dude. And like, the more that you prepare ahead of time and do all the right things ahead of time, like you're doing, you're going to just benefit in the long term. You're not going to have to like worry about, it's funny. I think about my homie Webby, who came on the pod, and
shout out Chris Webby.
Yeah. But he told me like, up until like 2016, like it was kind of a mess. And then he got it to, like, when he took the reins on his business, that's when everything started like really changing for him. And like, because at the end of the day, you're the person that's in charge of your ship.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, if the ship sinks, it's like, you got to patch it up, dude.
You. You're the whole.
Yeah. Tell me a story, dude. There's got to be some story in like your music career that's like super out of pocket, dude. Like a time that anything coming to mind immediately?
I have a couple. It just depends on where you want to go down.
Go whatever one you're thinking right now.
Out of pocket. I mean, I've been in some situations. I'm not sure if they're the ones meant for me to share them on camera.
You could share it and I could bleep it. Like, and you can get my face reactions.
The second time I went to Bridgeport, I got stuck up walking into, what's it called? The Ward. It was like a studio kind of thing downtown. So like, second time I went there, I got stuck up for like 10 seconds. And that was the first time I saw a gun like pointed at me. And I was terrified.
That is, in fact, scary, dude. I've been there. That sucks, dude. That sucks. There's no real transition other than that sucks, dude. How did you get out of that?
The homies.
They're like, no. He's cool.
It was basically like that. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's funny.
He's passing through.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Thankfully, I haven't had too many experiences like that. I had one where I was shooting a music video and the gun was pointed at me in the music video, and I thought it was not loaded, but it was loaded. So you just see me, bro, you just see me like filming it, like mad on the side. Like the artist is just like, swinging his arms around like at the camera. I'm just like,
you're just praying there's not a single.
You heard him like put the clip in, all my homies like head just like whipped. It's been a while since that. That was like 2013. That was on my, That was on my, making my way up. You were days.
Outside.
Yeah. Would never let it slide today, dude. But yeah, there's some sketchy things that happen in music. You have a story, like, I typically ask this question. You have a story of you getting burned or anything? It typically happens in music.
Yeah.
Let's hear it,
stories.
Dude.
I'll tell you one story where I won't name a name, and then I'll tell you a story where I will name a name. Okay.
I support whatever decision you make. If you hit me later and want me to censor it, I will.
One person like doesn't really make music, as far as I know, or like work in the business anymore, and they're just trying to do other things, so I won't put them on blast. But the other person is so famous, like there's no way that they could escape this.
Oh no, dude.
So I'd say like the biggest burn I've kind of had so far financially was shooting a video that I basically paid $1,500 for and then never got a final edit back on.
Oh, I'm gonna fight him, dude.
Yeah,
that sucks, dude.
I'll after this you'll know who it is, but
I have ideas, but we don't have.
Right,
we don't have to talk about it.
But yeah, we had planned out this video for like several weeks. It was shot at my house. I had a bunch of people pull up. It was like a party vibe, and we shot a video. And it's still not out because I never got a final edit with the notes that I wanted for it back on the video. And then as far as I know, that person doesn't make videos anymore. So
bro,
that is just how the game goes sometimes.
Getting burned. It's funny. I had Shy Guy on yesterday and he told me he's never got burned. And I was like, God bless you, dude.
God bless you.
You know what I mean? It's like, bro.
Means you're doing something right so far. Yeah. Surrounding yourself with the right people.
Dude, I feel like my intro into the game was me getting burned. It was like the first day I was like, here's my first little bit of money. I was like, all right, where's my website? I'd like my website now. I just never saw that website. It was
for a website?
Yeah, dude.
Hosting, creation, design?
A design, and like I want someone to do it. Now and this was like 2012, dude. This is like before like a Wix was like a thing.
Right, this was before Squarespace.
That's what I'm saying. Stuff. Like I do it all myself now. Right. Yeah, I got jaded all the way to doing everything myself. You know what I mean?
That's kind of the path I'm on as well.
Yeah,
I could relate.
But Yeah, no, getting burned sucks, dude. It's just part of the game though. And it's like, but 15, like that's a strong burn for early on, dude. Like I would have fought somebody, dude. Yeah. I've heard worse though. I've heard worse.
I was gonna say, I've definitely heard way worse stories just in the context of me telling this to other people. They're like, bro, you got saved.
What's the other story? And if you want me to censor the name later, I will, but I'm curious, like in the real spot.
I have like 80 to 85% verifiable accuracy that Fat Joe hit me up on a burner Instagram account and was trying to scam me out of paying for him to be on one of my songs.
Insane,
so
dude.
It was, I've blocked those numbers and accounts and they can't reach me. But I do remember getting a Instagram, like the FaceTime call from that burner account, and it was Fat Joe on the other end. And he was like, Nick, can you hear me? And I was like, yeah, I can hear you. And he was like in a room, there was Ciroc, it was like a studio or something. He's like, I'm gonna hit you. And then he hung up the phone. And then I'm on the text messages with management for like the next couple days. And they're basically just trying to finesse me to pay for Fat Joe to do shit, which didn't add up for me at the time. With other context I've learned about legacy artists and other things, it does make a lot of sense because I've seen the game and Fat Joe do all these scam mixtape things, and it's just like,
bro, it's
tough.
insane because, you know, there's a lot of artists out there that, you know, have a good reputation in the game and like, you know them and like they have these massive records. But like when it comes to their business, it's so terrible, dude. Bro, like, it's like insane. I've seen a couple. I'm like, yo, what the hell? I was like, dog, you're supposed to be the guy, dude. Yeah. What the hell are you doing right now?
And in that time, like, I was trying to do my research because, like, mind you, I want to make sure this is the real person. Obviously, they're not hitting me from the Fat Joe verified account. You got to know, like,
that's already red flag number one.
It's already a red flag. You got to know who you're playing with. But I did get several verifications from other things that were telling me, like, this is probably his street team or just, like, people who aren't in the corporate label sense, but people who do work with him. Because it was all Terror Squad labeled shit, right?
Sketch, dude, though.
Me having the awareness, I was like, I need to go back and look up all these people and, like, know who they are. Mind you, like, I did find some kind of overlaps in real people, real names, real things that I was talking to. But then I also looked up the history of like how all this New York shit went down in the early 2000s. And I'm like, this doesn't sound very different from when you were running around in New York before you were Fat Joe to everyone else.
So what was the, like, how did that, were you just like, fuck you, Fat Joe?
No, like they basically like kept trying to like push me. They were like, the record's so fire, Fat Joe wants to meet you. The record's so fire, can we do a feature? Like we want you to pull up to New York and do it. And then when all these things, like I was like, yeah, I'm cool with that. What's the situation? They're like, you're gonna have to pay for all of it. You're gonna pay for Fat Joe's studio time. You're gonna pay for him to pull up. You're gonna pay for the clearance of the record.
How much are they asking?
At just the studio up front, they were asking for a couple grand for me to go up to New York for a night. And I was like, no, dude. I recorded this in my room. Fat Joe, get your ass to the studio. Yeah. Like, what?
I think I might censor the artist name throughout this.
You can.
Because
absolutely.
I think it will make the story funny as fuck,
oh, yeah.
dude. But yeah, no, it's fucking, but you know, this brings to a good point too, where it's like, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It was, and it was way too good to be true. Like, even if in an ideal world, he wanted to do the record and then he couldn't because some other bullshit got in the way or they were just profit motive was the number one. I can understand it now with like a clear-eyed view in hindsight of like, I don't need to entertain every single opportunity that comes my way, even if it seems like it's wrapped in gold. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I've turned down opportunities that were 100% legit because I don't think it aligned with, what I was trying to do. And, sometimes I make good calls. Other times I'm like, it better be a good call. You know what I mean? So I just got to get myself, as long as I stick on my path and keep leveling up, it'll be worth it. But if I drop the ball at any point, it's like, right. Dang, I really was handed the biggest blessing of my life and I could have just grabbed it and done that. But, I think just sticking to your mission and sticking to your guns will get you more respect, and you just gotta trust your vision, dude.
Always. Every time I've heard a story that didn't have that route, when someone was like, "Oh, so and so hit me up for whatever, and they needed whatever," and I told them no, I always have more respect for that person because it's like you didn't bite just because you saw the clout or whatever you were trying to gain out of it. Like, there's clearly like an ethical, principled understanding of who you want to be as an artist going into these decisions.
Well, thank you for making me feel better about my
course.
choices, Nick,
Of
because
course.
I'd be seeing some of the things that are like, dang, that could have been me, you know?
Yeah.
But moving on, what's next for you?
Next for me, I am going back to the drawing board. I'm definitely going to be dropping new music soon, but I'm definitely going to be recording and formulating a lot of newer music, stuff that I haven't had sitting around for a long time to kind of come with later in 2025. I'll tell you this first. I really want to do like an album film.
Oh, let's go.
So this is something I've been
dude.
playing with in my head. I just want to do like a musical film, like something that will narratively connect all the tracks of an album together in a way that you could either listen to it or you could watch it and it's like, this is all in unison with each other.
You have to do it, dude. You have to do it. One of my homies did, my homie Watsky did something like that. He spent...
I needed to bring him up because...
Bring him up, dude.
That 1 degree of separation right here is crazy because I was that 10-year-old kid watching White Kid Raps Fast. And
yeah, dude.
I was like, I think I bought the physical of What Can We Do? Oh man, Watsky is a big inspiration for me, period.
As his homie, he's the absolute man, dude. Like, there's not been a single person that I've worked with. Maybe there's a couple, but him in particular, like, you know, how he treats his team, how he goes about everything, like, it's the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
I would like to take notes from him on how he's doing shit. 100%.
Bro, yeah, no, George is the absolute man. He's one of few people I would take a bullet for. You know what I mean?
Real.
Like,
that's real.
That's like, I'll give you the way I describe George is like, if there are 6 hotel beds and 7 people, he's paying for the rooms and he's sleeping on the floor. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the type of, he just like really looks out for his team, dude. And like, you know, before I worked with George, I came from a team that fucking sucked, dog. Like, terrible. So like, you know, I was at the point where I was like, fuck this, dude. I want to quit. Like this, if this is how touring is going to be, I want out, dude. And then, you know, George hit me and, you know, I knew cause I worked with him before, right? Like very, very slightly. And he just was like, come on the road. And I got there and I was like, oh shit. I was like I put my guard down a little bit and like, you know,
really be comfortable.
Learned a lot from him. And I'm such good friends with that entire crew. I just was on the phone with Killah today, who's like the singer that's on the road with him. But yeah, no, he's an absolute legend. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just shouted out my homie Watsky.
The fact that he shouted you out and you had that clip on your album of that whole thing at the show, like, bro, to me that's like just like that's Connecticut history right there,
bro.
Period.
I respect you hell for knowing about that skit, dude. There's like, it's one of the, that's a deep cut, you know what I mean? That's a deep cut. But no, he's the man, dude, and he's like done so much for my career as a whole too, and like really looked out for. I like really don't have enough good words to say about. Like, I could just keep going forever, dude.
I could.
Who is somebody you'd want to work with?
Great question. I want to work with a lot of people, and to be honest, I don't want to pin it down. There's a lot of people in Connecticut in our realm that I still need to work with.
Would you put it out there?
Yeah,
we got to lock it down and make it happen, dude.
I mean,
I'll shoot some texts out, dude. We'll lock something in.
We saw Doss earlier.
Yeah,
I would love to get me and Doss need a record.
It would be
100%.
It'd be a banger, 100%. There's just there's no doubt in my mind that would be a slapper, dude. Yeah. It would no matter how you cut it. I
can already tell. We're just going to have the same sensibilities for making the shit that's going to work.
Yeah, you guys are both good dudes, too. And I'm glad you guys got to meet, too. Like, that was like a nice little quick interaction. Yeah. My studio's a fucking hot mess, dude. You guys see the cool part. Not even the cool part. You guys see the white wall. You don't see.
But it's a beautiful work in progress.
Thank you, dude.
You see everything in the room that's going to be the room. It's just currently in
the puzzle pieces
piles.
Are not together.
Yes.
The puzzle's still in the box.
Yes.
And we are also in the box,
in the box
dude.
with the puzzle pieces.
Yeah. But no, it's, you know, I'm excited for it. And like, I'm excited to have artists down here to like cook up. It's in a great location, the Stanford Town Center. I think they want me to say their name as much as I possibly can. So I want to shout
Stanford Town Center.
Got to shout out the Stanford Town Center too, because it's really cool and it's an insane opportunity. But Nick, let's not talk about my studio and all the work that I need to do over here. What's your message to the world, dude?
My message to the world today is be yourself. And I think that might be a little cliche or trite or whatever, but be yourself. stand on the principles that your mother and father taught you, if you believe that they taught you some good stuff. And just remember, being a good person will go a lot farther than you thinking that you need to be talented or successful with a certain metric or whatever it is. Like, just keep making stuff. Keep creating stuff.
It's important, dude. Like, it's a very popular message on the Mike Squires and Friends, but it's like, it's a testament to how true it is in my eyes, where it's like, stop being a weirdo, dude.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Like, if you're not meant to work with somebody and it doesn't click, that's okay.
That's okay.
You know what I mean? It's
literally be okay with things not seem like, if something seems like it has to work, get used to it not having to work, and be content with yourself. Like, there's a million ways to look for validation outside. Like, validate yourself.
What's some advice you'd have to an artist on the come up too?
Ooh. Learn everything. Like, to what you were saying earlier, learn as much of every part of the process as you can, as long as, I guess, it doesn't overwhelm you or get in the way of you doing it. Like, if you can learn to mix your own music, learn to mix your own music. If you can learn to make your own beats, learn to make your own beats. If you can learn to design your own website, shoot your own content, do any of that, cut out the middleman, because then when you do have a team, or you want to expand, or you're going to work with more skilled people in anything, you're going to know what you're talking about, and they're going to have a different level of respect for you wanting to figure it out, in addition to growing or working with other people as well.
The less people can offer you, the better you'll be.
Yes.
It's always the truth.
Have as much to offer as possible.
Yeah, and also a big thing about that too is being able to communicate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like learning, even if you're not the best video guy in the world, but like just understanding what thing, like, you know, if you're able to talk with Kat and just be like, yo, like, can we shoot this at like a higher shutter speed? Because I don't want, like, I think if we did like more of an action scene, like, you know what I mean? Just being able to like know the terms to communicate is going to be a huge tool, even if you don't know the full thing. Like, even with mixing, if you're not an engineer, but it's like, yo, I know it needs reverb. You know what I mean?
So it's I know it needs to sound washed out. You could just use adjectives. Like, as an artist, you're a linguist. Like, words are a big part of what you do, whether it's visual or like whatever, audio. Like, learn the love languages of all the things that go along with this, because then you will have so much more deep, fulfilling conversations with all the people that you can have them with. Yeah.
Nick, is there anything else you want to share? I feel like, do you have like a hidden talent or something? There's something that I like, I want to, we're bringing this to the end zone, but there's something, you got a hidden talent or something, dude, like something funny. There's got to be something. You seem like a funny guy. Like, you seem like you're trying funny moments, dude.
I could tell you a couple things.
Give me a funny story before we get out of here, because I can sense that
I told you I was colorblind, right?
You did say that at the beginning of the podcast.
I failed my first driver's test because I went through a red light and I thought it was green.
Damn, dude. Wait, so you can't see reds?
I can see red. So I think it's what it's called, deuteranopia.
Deuteranopia is crazy,
It's like the technical term for red-green colorblind. So I can see all colors. I get colors confused. I look at red, I see green. I look at brown, I could see red or orange. I could look at purple, I see blue. Like, this looks definitely more purple, even though I know it's supposed to be a red, white, and blue flag. So I believe you 100%, but deuteranopia sounds so made up, dude. Like, is it like nope, dude? Like deuteranopia? That's crazy. It's like the same thing as like Deuteronomy, like the same beginning. It's like weird. It's weird as hell.
I love the word deuteranopia. I would make a song called Deuteranopia. We should make a song called Deuteranopia, dude.
My next album is gonna be a parody of Travis Scott's whole thing. It's called Deuteranopia.
Damn, dude.
Every song is just slightly off color from what you heard the first time.
Do you have any other colorblind stories that you could share, like a moment where you're like, oh, dang it, that was the wrong color, dude?
I mean, I really learned I think it was either 4th or 5th grade. We were doing some kind of like coloring page assignment.
Yeah.
And the pack of, I don't remember, I think it was colored pencils. I don't think it was markers. I think it was colored pencils. They handed us like unnamed colored pencils. And they were like, yeah, just do the whatever. So without the names of the colors on the pencils, I was drawing some wild, trippy shit that does not align with anybody who sees colors normal. And my teacher was like, are you sure? Like, you know that, like, that's red? And I was like, yeah, red. And like holding up an orange pencil or something. Yeah. And that's when I realized, I was like, yeah, this might be a problem.
Have you ever tried those glasses? Aren't there glasses?
I have the glasses.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
You did, dude.
I did. Like,
I was hoping you were gonna
cliche.
cry.
Like, I went outside, I put them on, grass looked as green as it should be. And I was like, fuck. Like I have a disability. This is beautiful. Like this is awesome.
I feel like on the scale of disabilities though, like colorblind,
it's so low.
It's so low.
It's like it's just I can
kind of
make
a cool
jokes about
one,
myself.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to me, if you're like, oh, colorblind's kind of a cool one. I don't know. Like maybe that's a weird statement, but I've already said it, and there's no going back. So. Deuternopia, dude. If people wanted to connect with you or find you, how could they?
They can find me anywhere. If you just look up Nick Rose, my handle and my website is nxckrxse.com. It's Nick Rose with X's in the middle. It's like an Xbox gamer tag. It's a little confusing.
I know there's a lot of different types of roses, but like, roses are typically red. So are you colorblind to roses too?
I do recognize most of the time the red in roses. Like that doesn't usually change.
It sounded very poetic when you just said it, dude. You know what I mean? Like I do see the red in roses. Like that's like, to me, it's like roses are, I don't know. It's very poetic the way you said it.
Sometimes I literally, if it's like wilting or something, it might be like, okay, that rose looks green and I know it's supposed to be red. And like, it's just either the lighting or how my eyes are working that day. And like, it's just weird.
Yeah. Last thing, you've done like the test with the numbers and stuff and like some of those
you could show me them right after this. You're going to be surprised.
We're going to get into like a quick little hangout because I want to get you on the road because you got a little bit of a drive, but like, I definitely want to hang out for a little second, dude.
Absolutely.
I asked you your socials. I think that's it, dude.
Yeah.
That's a wrap of a podcast. This felt great, dude.
Thank you, Mike
I
Suarez.
think I'm going to do more podcasts after the gym and drink way too much caffeine. Yeah, my guy. I appreciate you coming on, dude.